In today's video, I'm super excited to share with you my 3 cardinal rules of good interviewing, the 3 stages of your prep, and the 2 vital ingredients of every stellar interview. Today's video also launches our fall series on legal recruiting, interviewing, and networking. We will cover everything you need to help you land that dream legal job. As you might be able to tell, I'm personally super excited about this, and that's for 2 reasons. The first reason is we love all our subscribers, but we have a very wide group of subscribers, from people who are looking to go to law school, to current law students, as well as junior associates. So this is a topic to how to become better at interviewing or find that dream job. It's something that applies to all our subscribers. So I am super excited to add value to everyone through this series. The second reason why I'm excited is I've always been pretty good at this. I went to Berkeley Law about a decade and a half ago, and even when I was in law school and a lot of my classmates were super stressed out about interviewing and going to networking events, I really liked it. I thought it was such a privilege and a blessing to have the opportunity to have all the legal recruiters come to you. They are looking for somebody just like you. I did really well from all the on-campus interviews. I converted 75% into callbacks. And from the callbacks that I actually ultimately ended up doing, I ended up converting the substantial majority into offers. I was also able to help my classmates that maybe did not have optimal grades to think about interviewing in a different way to be able to get good results. And this is way before I even thought of starting Practice Pro or becoming a career coach. That was nowhere on the horizon at the time. So it's one of those things where I always joke with my students, it's something that chose me rather than the other way around. I hope you're also excited about this series. And I also hope that you will consider supporting me by subscribing to the channel. And if you're enjoying this video and if you're excited about this series, go ahead and smash the like button. So let's get started. First up, the 3 cardinal rules. In the coming weeks, we will dive deeper and deeper into the intricacies of legal recruiting and interviewing. And in that regard, we will apply these rules to specific situations, whether it's virtual interviews or just trying to research law firms. But for now, let's just go through them really quickly. The first rule is inspired by the great Maya Angelou, who said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." By remembering that the interview is not with a firm, is not with a company, but it's with a human being who's sitting on the other side of this table. And sure, you're going to have your verbal skills at your disposal, but you have to use what you say as well as how you present yourself, your body language, and all those good things that we will talk about to ignite a feeling in that human being sitting across from you. A feeling that you are competent, a feeling that you will be amazing to have around as a colleague. The second rule is you are an advocate for yourself. In law school, you will learn how to write a brief in a persuasive way to advocate for a client, regardless of how strong or weak their case is. Similarly, you will learn to do moot court and orally advocate for that client. Many law students and lawyers, when it comes to themselves, whether it's in the context of negotiating for a raise or asking for an opportunity, and definitely when it comes to interviewing, I have seen that they forget about all those great strategic thinking skills that they learn when they are looking at their client's file to decide, how to advocate for that client. They forget about all the advocacy skills of using their time when they are in court or when you get a certain number of pages for a brief to their client's advantage. So remember that in this context of interviewing, your client is you, and you are advocating for that client using various different skills of persuasive arguments, questions, body language, and the different things we will learn in this series. The third rule is it is more important to be interested than interesting. And this applies both in the interview context as well as the networking context. Show curiosity and enthusiasm in what the firm does or the company, or simply in the human being that is sitting across the table from you. When you're in a networking situation, the best topic to talk about is the other person, to ask them questions. That does not mean you don't answer questions, right? It does not mean it is, after all, an interview and they want to ask you questions to know about you and know that you can do the job. But in the way you respond to questions, and definitely in the way you ask questions, or you ask questions after the interview is over, or before, when you're prepping for it. Now let's talk about 3 stages of a good interview prep. The first step, you prepare. Second, you perform. And third, you process. And it doesn't matter, if I'm working with one of the students in our Diversity Scholar program or a senior lawyer, the 3 stages remain exactly the same. In the first step, we prepare. And that involves a number of things that I will dive into in the coming weeks. But it includes preparing by really thinking about what that legal employer is looking for. Maybe there's a job description, or maybe this is a big law firm or a company, and we can generally know what they are looking for, what makes them excited and what makes them a little nervous. This step should also include looking at your own materials, your own self. And not just, by revising your resume or writing the cover letter, that's of course included. But what I mean is more taking a step back and with keeping in mind what the employer is looking for, whether it's through their job description or your general knowledge, to look at your own materials and think about what's your bargaining power? What about you and your background makes you potentially really attractive to this employer? And what about you maybe does not do that as much? This step should also include researching and your specific, your individual interviewers, if this is the type of interview where you're going to get that information beforehand. And that is perhaps the most important part of this. It supports Cardinal rule number 1. It's about how you make people feel, and every person is different, right? So it might be the same firm or the same employer, but 7 different people. The second step is your performance, is when you get to the interview. It involves anything from what you wear, how early you arrive, the way you respond to questions, the way you ask questions, and it's really fun. There are just so many important rules to follow in just this performance stage of your interview, as well as things that can go wrong. Also, the way you follow up after every interview, I'm also going to put that in this bucket. The third and final step of every interview prep is processing. And this is something that almost no one does. But I ask all my coaching clients to do this, and it really makes a big difference. What do I mean by processing? It simply means that you sit down and you think about how each interview went. And by that doesn't mean you sit down and just say, oh my God, I should have answered this way. I really messed up right here. This is not intended to beat yourself up about woulda, shoulda, coulda. This is about simply thinking about what kind of questions do I get asked a lot? Maybe there's something about the resume that ignites certain questions. Is this something that helps me talk about things that's important, or does this translate into chit-chatting about random things that doesn't really help me advocate for my cause? So if we process after an interview such things, we're able to maybe tweak our application materials, as well as maybe we're able to come up with solid answers and think about these type of questions beforehand, so when we get asked them again or repeatedly, we can do better. Also, some individuals have interview glitches. These are unintentional things that you might do. You might even think they're helping your cause. I had a friend from law school who had tons of interviews, but she didn't ask me, she didn't tell me how things were going until it was really too late. And when she shared it with me, I immediately realized that she was, what she was perceiving to be as a positive, that the interviews were going well, actually did not mean that she was going to get the job. Because remember, even though we have the cardinal rule number 1, it's about how making people feel, but they have to also feel not just that you are, a fun person to have around, but that you're going to be a competent lawyer or paralegal or case assistant, whatever you're interviewing for, so you can add value in the professional context. So we will talk about some things to be on the lookout for. So if you end up meeting with your career counselors or with me, we can then have the tools we need to really assess what's going right, or maybe things are going right, but you still haven't gotten that dream offer. We'll be able to be even more powerful advising you. What are the 2 vital ingredients of every stellar interview? First is the substance, and the second, it's your demeanor. By substance, I simply mean the exchange of information, how you respond to the interviewer's questions, and then how you ask questions. That's at its basic level. To dive in a little bit deeper, it involves your skill to be able to, in a non-weird way, pivot, bridge the conversation towards the topics that will show what you need to personally show. Whether it's that you're super competent despite your grades and you're going to be a stellar attorney, whether you are super interested in the area that this company or this employer is hiring, your ability to pivot the conversation, or even if you're being asked about indirect things, to be able to still advocate for yourself in a way that is relevant to showing how amazing you will be for the job, is all part of delivering the substance ingredient of the interview. In my practice, I have come across many students who come to Practice Pro after they've done on-campus interviews. Maybe they had 10, 20 on-campus interviews, but they didn't get a lot of callbacks. And before I even meet with them, I can usually guess that if the grades are good and they're probably doing well enough, even if their substance, the way they're delivering it in the interview is a B+, that should be enough to do better in the callback, getting more callbacks or converting those callbacks to offers. So usually the problem lies in that they did not deliver the second ingredient, the demeanor. And this is where we can really do a good job in delivering that cardinal rule of how we make people feel, right? If you've advocated for yourself, our substance is there on paper, we answered questions well, but how did I make somebody feel? Your demeanor is, of course, how you dress, your body language. That's all important. But it's also, did you show me through the variation in your voice, through your the way you smile, the way you look, your body language, all of that stuff. Did you show me that you're excited, that you're ambitious, that you want this job? Or did I feel like you're bored? You're tentative. You don't really want to do this. And especially if your resume tilts towards different industries than the job you're interviewing with. For example, if you've done a lot of public interest before, and now you're really interviewing with a firm, if your demeanor does not really show that you want it, that you're curious, that you're enthusiastic, I might be thinking, well, maybe you will ultimately come here, but are you going to bring this level of excitement or lack thereof in how you do your assignments? Are you going to be this ambitious and this excited to one day becoming a leader here? I understand that not everybody will stay at my firm or my company, but I would like to know that if things work out, at least there will be a shot for us to go the long way. Thank you for hanging out with me. Again, don't forget to comment below with any questions you may have about legal recruiting, interviewing, networking, law school in general. I read every single comment myself, and I promise I will respond. If you have a specific question and you don't really feel comfortable sharing it in the comments, you can go to the Practice Pro website and schedule a one-on-one consult. Put in there that you're from the YouTube family, and I will make sure to do your consult myself. You can also just shoot us an email and tell us what it's about, and we can tell you if we think it's a good idea to schedule a consult, or maybe it's something that we're already planning to do a video on. If you haven't already done so, just a gentle reminder, please support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Until we talk again, stay well, have a wonderful day.